Thank you. Samantha?
Hi, everyone. I'm happy to speak to you guys today and looking forward to the conversation. So I guess I'll start with, I went to high school with Chelsea, and I don't know if she'll remember, but for some reason I always said I'm going to go to law school and be a lawyer. And I didn't necessarily know what that even meant at the time. A bit of a backstory, I'm the first lawyer in my family. I didn't really know much about the career when I had decided that I wanted to do it. But I'll keep it a bit short and sweet. So I went to do my undergrad at U of T, and then I went to law school at Osgood, which is at York University. And then I've been practicing for 3 years. So that's kind of it in a nutshell, but a lot happens in between there. It's about an 8-year school journey with articling and things like that, but that's at a high level. I'd say the biggest barrier just entering into the career for me was financial. I'm not sure if you guys I think everyone knows education is an investment and it's expensive, but especially law school, at least when I was doing it, it's about $30,000 a year. And before you can go to law school, you have to do an undergrad degree for about 3 to 4 years. I'm not sure what undergrad rate is going for now, but at the time when I was going, it was probably around 8 or 10. So adding that all up together was a bit daunting. So yeah, I would say it was financial for myself, but I didn't let that stop me. I think OSAP and things, there's some contentious things going on right now, but I didn't know at the time, but you can get a loan from the bank when you're pursuing, I believe, for lawyers and doctors, and that wasn't something that I knew was an option. So if your OSAP isn't enough to cover it and you otherwise don't have money from your family or other resources, you can get a loan from the bank to pursue your degree, and the interest rate is a bit more favorable because you're pursuing these degrees. So the banks that's another option to finance your education, and I still kind of went for it. I know financial barrier is a big thing for higher education, but that shouldn't be the reason why you shouldn't pursue it, in my opinion. And then I think the other barrier is more so mental. Like I mentioned, I don't come from a family of lawyers. None of my friends were doing it at the time, so it was really just kind of the only one in my community navigating that process. So I think once you just accept and realize that you can do it, I know it seems silly, but sometimes, like your biggest barrier is yourself, and just realizing that you can do it, and that, even if you don't have the financial means to do it, there's other avenues that can get there, and I'm on the other side of it, and I've been able to pay off my debt, so it's all an investment for some future point. Defining moment for me was passing the bar. I'm not sure if you guys know what that is, but to become a licensed lawyer, you have to pass the bar exam. It's like a 5-hour exam. It's insane, and so just passing that was a crazy moment for me, and I was like, if I can do that, then I think I can do anything. So that was a pretty key moment for me. I think the best way to describe my job is that it's not necessarily a traditional 9 to 5, and that has some pros and some cons. I'm not sure, you guys are really young, so I'm trying to keep this in a way that it will make sense. But my office is right near the Eaton Center, so kind of around the corner from there. And the day-to-day, I usually go to the office around 10, so I can go to the gym, I can take care of myself a little bit before that. I would say the large part of my day involves answering a lot of emails, so it's a lot of being on the computer, and then in law is very reading heavy, so I'm really going to be negotiating contracts, reading them, reviewing, adding in things that I think are better for my client, and removing things that I think either just don't make sense or just is kind of going to harm my client. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. You're reading agreements and drafting them and that kind of thing. But a lot of on the computer. I also don't go to court, so that's the one thing I should clarify. So when I was younger, I thought being a lawyer meant you go to court. That's what we see on TV. So I'm called a transactional lawyer, which means I actually never go to court. So for me, I wasn't really a big fan of public speaking, and so that kind of deterred me from legal work in the beginning. But some people don't know you can be a lawyer and just strictly work on the computer, and you don't really need to public speak if that's not your thing. Lots of emails, lots of reading, a lot of flexibility. So if I'm not busy and it's like 1 p.m., I can leave. But also sometimes I might work at 8 p.m. if something urgent comes in. So the hours are very unpredictable, but I like the flexibility and independence that it gives me. I kind of work at my own times and that kind of thing. So for my field, I'd say the biggest one is kind of like emotional regulation and just being able to handle stress well. It's definitely a high pressure environment. So sometimes a deal could come in and the client says, we need to close this in 1 day or 1 week. And I guess the easiest way you guys are really young, but I think you can relate to like someone does something to you and you get mad, and how you kind of react to that is all within your power. It's kind of the same thing when you become an adult. You're going to be in a workplace, there's going to be situations, so either that's with people you work with or your clients and the pressure, and I think people who do really well are able to kind of navigate those situations in a thoughtful way and not being impulsive. So I think that's a main thing, is just stress management. And then, I think just like a grit and hustle to kind of, just because things are hard, to not give up. So I kind of say it's those two things.
For me, as a university student, it would be curiosity, like going into things knowing that I am willing to learn and I'm just going to take everything in. Even, for example, as I mentioned, joining clubs maybe in different areas, maybe stuff you was not typically interested in joining in, because you never know if that's something that you'll end up actually loving at the end of the day. And it's also just doing your best day to day. So university can get like really busy academically speaking, but you also need to know that you're there to then become a professional. So you have to like take steps accordingly on that end, meet people, talk to them, go to events, but also remember that you're young and that you're a university student. So you actually need to network with your peers, and that can go as long as just having lunch with your friends, or just like, doing your homework together on a daily basis, and just enjoying your university life before it gets way too serious.
I'll kind of piggyback on that, but for a different reason. I think you guys are really young to be, like, I'm not sure if any of you are interested or even law school, or that's kind of after you even pursue a degree after high school, and I think most of you are in elementary school. So I think that YouTube is a great recommendation, just from, like, even myself, and we're not even the generation that we grew up without social media, but I think just attention span is something that the younger kids, I think, need to work on. So things like going on TikTok and Instagram, like short form content, I think if you can kind of watch a YouTube video to like learn something for longer than a minute, that would be my recommendation. Is just, I know the short form content is kind of ruining younger kids' attention span. I just think that's more of a tangible skill, regardless of whatever career you go into, is that you're going to need to be able to focus for longer periods of time. So I don't know if that's helpful, but that's what I'd say.